Oh my gosh, it's gonna work. I am so sorry.
Wow, live stream. Wow, that's good.
Is it not working still?
The old one works.
Okay.
Isn't that always the way it is?
Okay. I'm gonna-
So we're ready to go.
Yep,
hold on a second.
I think so.
Okay. All right, we're live on YouTube. We're recording. Everything looks perfect. Yes, so sorry.
All right, then.
Let's
Good evening.
roll.
And yep, after some technical difficulties, we're online. So let's call the planning board meeting of February 25th, 2021 to let's just call it to order.
All right. Mr. Tuttle,
Here.
Mr. Stengel,
Here,
Mr. Harding,
Here.
Mr. Bennett,
Virtual.
Chairman Thompson.
Here. And approval for prior minutes of January 21st.
I think they look good.
I'll second it.
Who seconded? Sorry.
Ed,
Thank you. A motion was made by Mr. Bennett to approve the meeting minutes from January 21st, 2021. This was seconded by Mr. Stengel. All in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
yes, aye.
All right, thank you so much.
Looks like we have two items of old business. The first being recreational vehicles, and then followed by commercial vehicles. Are these just updates to the code?
So it's really just commercial vehicles, recreational vehicles, the code section, I guess, is just lumped in there. I believe you guys had approved recreational vehicles the last meeting. Am I mistaking that, or?
I thought we did.
Yeah, I think we did.
I think there were just a couple of things with commercial vehicles.
I thought,
Yeah,
I thought we approved both of them.
Yeah, no, you only approved recreational vehicles, but because there's overlap in the code, in the definitions, I kept it on the agenda, but that one's, you don't have to do anything else with it.
What was it? I know, looking back at the, I know we approved recreational vehicles. What'd you say about the commercial?
I think we had like a couple of minor changes that you guys had suggested that we, I believe we addressed for commercial vehicles.
Yeah, there was the point about the limit of 24 hours for loading and unloading.
Yeah, I believe we changed it to 72.
72.
Oh, that's right. Yep.
And then, let's see. And then I think we further defined like the type of vehicle, like what constitutes a commercial vehicle. Like a vehicle that is owned by a business or company, a vehicle that is used for transporting goods or passengers, a vehicle that is used for a business that is in an individual's name. Added that information in there to, I guess, help with the definition. I think because we were trying to clear up in case, like, what is, I guess, commercial and what constitutes with trailers especially. So
I would add some comments to that. Am I okay to comment now?
yep.
A vehicle that is used transporting goods or passengers, that's every vehicle right now. So there should be, I would say, a vehicle that is used to commercially transport goods or passengers. And then the one I didn't understand is a vehicle that is leased and under the name of a financial institution that owns it. I'm not sure I understand what we're asking for on that one.
One second. So with that statement,
Any lease,
I don't know why that's necessary because like a lot of cars, like my current car is leased or not leased, but it's, you know, I have at least a contract with the bank on it. So,
any leased vehicle would be under the name of a financial
yeah.
institution.
And then the first statement about the passengers, yeah, that does need to be cleared up about
Commercially.
specifically.
Do you lift these definitions from somewhere?
Yeah.
If the context here is commercial semi-trailers, tractors, trailers, and trucks, or is the context just commercial vehicles in general?
I believe it's both. So it's dealing with commercial vehicles, and a commercial vehicle is also a commercial trailer or semi truck.
Okay.
Right now, the way it's written, it would apply to a passenger car.
My only other question would be the third one says a vehicle that is used for business but is in an individual's name. I mean, if somebody uses a car for business and that's what they use it for, I mean, would that include that? I mean, I know that's not our intention, but can it be interpreted that way? Like, I mean, if I use my car at my work and because I'm driving all day, like, is that used for business? I mean, I probably deduct the miles on my taxes, so from that standpoint, it's used for, I mean, again, I'm not nitpicking. I know what we mean by it, but I'm just saying if you're trying to interpret this down the road, is that muddy?
I think it's really just there to clarify in case there is an instance where we have an issue where a commercial vehicle is being used and we need for some reason to define it as such, and it's not in a business name, but it is in an individual's name. So I think that's why that statement is written as such. But maybe clarifying it better would, you know, be better suited for that situation.
Like I said, I know what we mean by it, but I don't want it 5 years, 10 years down the road to be used for a purpose it's not meant for.
I get you, and I was going to have that same comment, but then as you're talking, I started thinking about it again. This is just code language. This is where the city chooses to enforce or not. So, I mean, that's vague enough. You could drive a commercial truck through it, no pun intended. But you know, if the city chooses not to enforce something like that you were saying, then does it make a difference? I don't want to get so nitpicky that we're trying to define to the very nth degree, right?
Yeah, like that's very true. Like we can't accommodate for everything that's going to happen. So for every instance or every commercial vehicle that's going to come about, but we can try to, I guess, adjust things where it's coherent and we get it correct the first time before we approve it. But I agree. But I do think that clarifying it, you know, probably is better suited in this instant at least, especially with the commercial passengers. And I would probably even just strike out the leasing information. I don't even think that's necessary.
Well, I understand the reason for that line, like, you don't want somebody using their commercial truck and they just put it in their name and think that gets them out of it being commercial. I understand like that, the reason for it being there. I just wanted to make sure we didn't need to clarify it in some way to prevent misuse. So, but I mean, I agree with Mitch. I don't think the city's going hunting for people. So I think, the language should be there so that if there is somebody abusing it, that they, that the city does have the ability to enforce it. But I just wanted to make sure we didn't need to clarify it further.
Yeah, we currently operate under a complaint-based system, so it would be.
And that's where the road could get you in trouble, is somebody is having a feud with their neighbor and they want to use this against them.
Well, I'd leave it to
Okay.
you on that third one, Jess. If you're comfortable with that wording, I am too. I just wanted to bring it up just because the first time I read it, I had that question in my mind.
Yeah. I don't know. I think using your car for business, like, I think being clearly maybe saying a car that or a vehicle that is used for business and it's clearly marked as such, but is in an individual's name or something to that extent.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how to word it. I don't know what wording
Yeah.
would sound best, but I mean, I agree. I mean, if it's, Bob's Lawn Care and it says Bob's Lawn Care on the side of it, but it's registered under Bob Smith, like he shouldn't get out of that commercial vehicle
Yeah.
category, which I understand. I just, like I said, I don't know the correct wording. Most of this code is written like stereo instructions. So
Yeah, basically.
Brady, you bring for that third one in
Leave it the way
particular.
it is.
Go ahead, Brady.
I didn't say anything.
That was me. I said, why don't we just leave it the way it is?
Yeah, I was gonna recommend that, or with that third one in particular, right? We could look at that, and as is, there is no really harm. It's it's up to the city to enforce or not. But Brady brings up the good point where neighbor A could hold it over the head of neighbor B. So I would, I'm of the same mindset of leave it as is, or what harm would it do if we take it out?
I would take that one out. I don't think you're gaining anything with that one.
Yeah, we were just putting these in here to, again, add further definition as what constitutes a commercial vehicle. So we can definitely take that out of there.
Yeah, I think the last one with company logos, graphics, I mean, that captures a lot.
It does.
So you want to remove number 3?
Any recommendations
I really
Okay.
don't think it matters.
or motions?
or are we okay with the rest? I mean, if we remove that, is there any other issues that we need to send this back and have it come back again?
I'm good with the rest of it.
I'd like to not do that. Let's go ahead. If we have to approve the wording on commercial vehicles, removing number 3, let's go ahead and do that.
I agree to that.
Is everybody good with removing it then?
Fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're gonna- So I have to add that to my wording.
So do we need a motion now, or are we good?
We don't need a motion.
You said we don't?
No, we do. Sorry.
Oh, we do. Okay. Any motion on that, removing number 3?
Or, well, to approve the whole thing. Sorry.
Oh, okay, all right. I'll make a motion, we approve the whole thing
With the deletion of item number 3.
With, yes,
with the deletion of item number 3, yes. Thank you, Brady.
I'll second that.
all right, a motion was made by Mr. Bennett to approve section 3.02 definitions of commercial vehicles with the deletion of the third item stating a vehicle that is used for business but is in an individual's name. And section 18.22, trailer, commercial, semi-trailer, and truck. And this was seconded by Mr. Stengel. Mr. Bennett,
Yes,
Mr. Stengel,
Yes,
Mr. Tuttle,
Yes.
Mr. Harding,
Yes.
Chairman Thompson.
Yes. All right, moving on to new business 18.05A accessory buildings. Jessica, can you explain this a little bit? Because I tried reading through this and I got lost pretty quick.
Yeah, so there is a lot in this, and to be honest, there's going to be more. So I'm thinking about adding some solar panel stuff into this, but I think it needs honestly broken out based on some like size and things like that, and location, because it is a little bit hard to follow as it currently sits. But this is what we had presently. But we keep, for instance, getting calls about regulation for solar panels, and the city of Bellbrook doesn't currently have any. All we have is what Greene County regulates, and you know, they don't care where you put it on the roof or whatever. They just care if it's safe. So we need to have some sort of regulations, and you know, some of these solar panel setups, especially with those that are on the ground, they're meant to be there for 30 years or so, and to me that would be a type of accessory structure. So we're going to add that as well. So we will come back with this to be, I guess, condensed and to flow better. And if you have any comments on what is here now, you know, we're more than welcome to take it.
so right now it's new business. The next meeting, it'll be old business.
Yeah.
yes.
And so you're talking about solar panels that are on the ground as opposed to on the roof?
Well, both actually, but we have to have regulations for both, but it's where we put that code in, where would it fit any other place other than accessory structures in the zoning ordinance. So
Well, I'll look forward to taking this up at the next meeting.
I mean, we could discuss it now. It's just, I wanted to let you know that I plan on adding that. It just was sort of last minute that I kind of started to think about that. So
So are there any particular questions for 18.05A that we can like pull out right now and she can work on that before it comes back?
I didn't see anything when I read through it all. I mean, nothing stood out as being anything I didn't expect, I guess.
I thought it looked fairly straightforward to me when I, it's a lot to read and a lot to comprehend, but yeah, I think it looked okay.
You might add under the prohibited accessory structures, we have semi-tractor trailers used for storage. You should probably also include containers, because there's a lot of use right now for containers being used in residential and commercial.
Talk about storage containers,
Shipping containers.
shipping containers, yes.
They're not a semi-tractor if somebody wanted to get down to the nitty gritty of it. Yeah,
A Connex container?
yeah. We're seeing a lot of that in residential now.
how do you capture the temporary structure or the temporary nature of like a pod, which is a Connex container that typically people use to temporarily store things in, whether maybe remodeling the inside of their house or in preparation for moving.
I think that sort of thing is exempt from this code, but there needs to be some sort of clear exemption on that.
Hey, Jessica, just as a reference, you might want to look at the county, any covenants, codes, and restrictions that HOAs have on file. They might have some reference wording. I know my HOA has some restrictions on some structures. Might just be useful.
So one question I have, it might be just a very easy answer, is when we're talking accessory buildings and further down the page, it says detached accessory buildings, which means to me, all the previous print there was applied to attached accessory buildings, right? So if we're talking about attached accessory buildings to the primary structure, and we're looking at the setback, how does that come into play when people want to add on to their house, say a second garage?
I currently don't. I don't follow what you're meaning, but it's not meant for it to be that way. If that's the way you're perceiving it, I think that's a remnant of how confusing it is the way it was originally written. So currently, if you wanted an attached garage, you could go up to the required side or rear yard, which is 8 feet. So you go up to 8 feet to the side yard, depending if there is like an easement or something in the way. So
Some years back, I added a storage room onto the side of our house, and it sits on a concrete pad, but it did not have power, did not have plumbing, and it was not a conditioned space. So they considered it an attached accessory structure. But that was delineated it from it being an addition, because it did not have power or conditioned air or plumbing. Now, there's nothing in here that says that, but that's how they did it some years back.
yeah, I think we need to state that then.
Yeah, that was the question I had. I think I just got lost in all the red markouts.
Well, I thought if I read it right, that if it was an attached structure, it really didn't, like an attached garage wouldn't really fall under that criteria the way I read this.
Correct.
Because like if you go to the section C where it talks about breezeways, it essentially says if it meets the requirements of a true breezeway, then it's not considered a detached accessory structure. So none of those like limitations matter anymore. Like that's only for truly detached structures is what it sounded like when I read it. I treated the accessory building section as all detached structures, unless I misinterpreted it.
That's the way I have always interpreted it personally, but I mean, it can be interpreted in different ways. I honestly think that we should make a clear definition of what constitutes detached versus attached, as you know, that'll help in the future if there's ever a case where there's something extreme that might be happening that we need to have clear cut code for. So.
Tim, I was reading it the same way until I got to that line where it says detached accessory buildings.
I agree. I was thinking they just added the word detached almost in error because, I mean, the way the whole thing reads, it just sounded like it was all detached structures. But I agree. When I got to that point too, I was kind of like, well, isn't that what we've been talking about all along? So, but then when I got to breezeways, that's where I was kind of like, well, here again, it says that if it's attached by a true breezeway, then it's not an accessory structure. It's part of the principal residence, essentially.
Breezeways was added recently. So all the stuff in red was added. All the stuff in black is left over from what was in the code before, minus the strike throughs, which was basically things we deleted from the code. So the detached accessory buildings, that was still there. That was actually I think passed in 2006 because they wanted a limit on sizes of garages, actually, because they went from approving just like 1,200, 1,300 square feet garages to needing it to be under 600 square feet or around. So that's why that statement's in there. But the breezeways, the reason why I put this in here is, you know, if we have someone come in with something that's attached by a breezeway, well, you know, at what point does, you know, just having something attached by a breezeway, you know, how far away does a breezeway have to be before something is really considered detached still? So.
Well, and you need that because you don't want somebody to put a piece of sheet metal up connecting the two and call that a breezeway.
Yeah.
So is there any more points for Jessica to take on 18.05A?
I guess the only thing I would say is that I agree with Mitch, though. I think we should clarify that either all accessory buildings are detached, or we need to draw a finer line there. Like, I just assumed they all were, but maybe that should be clearer that an accessory building is something not attached to the principal structure.
Yeah, I think we just need to add a definition of detached versus attached, maybe. I'll come back with something more clear. Sorry.
That's fine.
That's fine. That's fine. Any comments on 18.05B, swimming pools?
This is actually something I really struggled with. So
It looks like it. That's why I wanted to bring it up specifically.
I'd really like if you have any comments. I'm not sure, like for inflatable pools, I'm not sure how that would want to be dealt with. They pose a risk to small children if they're not, you know, if they're not taken care of, but they are temporary, so in nature. So I'm not sure how regulating that, what the stance is on regulating that. Yes. So.
Well, if you're gonna do that with swimming pools, what about hot tubs?
Yeah, well, a hot tub I think would be. Yeah, I think it should be swimming pools and hot tubs.
So my first question on the temporary nature of an inflatable swimming pool. Do we have to regulate it?
Well, it is a good point. So I don't necessarily think we do. But we actually get calls pretty frequently in the summer about whether people need a fence or not for a inflatable 2-foot deep pool for their children. So
There's got to be some kind of depth. I mean, some of those inflatable pools like that can be 4 feet deep. I mean,
3 feet.
yeah,
3 feet, 4
they
feet.
can get pretty deep. I mean, at some point you've got to say you need at least a fence around it. I mean, beyond that, I don't know that, you know, but I mean, you got to at least give some semblance of keeping other people out of it if it's over a certain depth. I don't know what that depth is, but I mean, because a plastic
why-
6 inches of water in it, obviously, I mean, but something that's several feet deep.
That's why I made the statement to say depth of 2 feet or more and is left out for more than 24 hours.
Could you add some wording in there that would allow for, say, hey, covering this? Like those temporary pools?
Yeah,
Because I see in-ground pools now have automated covers. Generally, those are seen more in like townships where land is spread out more.
Well, I have an auto cover on my pool, but I also have a fence. I mean, obviously, in
Oh,
the city,
yeah.
you have to have a fence anyway, but I put an auto cover in also just because I have small nieces and nephews, and it's just safer.
I think in the township, if you're on like at least 5 acres or something, you can just go with a automated cover. But for those small pools, I just didn't know, small temporary pools, and say, hey, if you leave it unattended, cover it with a
yeah.
tarp.
And
I don't know.
it gets kind of complicated too, because like at what point, like if there's a small baby pool, you know, that someone has, like at what point is it's like, well, I mean, that's a pool, you know, I don't want to be like over regulating, I guess, for stuff that's unnecessary.
I've been on this planning board long enough to remember an issue we had with some residents a few years ago that wanted to be released from having to put up a fence because they put an automatic cover on their in-ground pool. And we disallowed that. So there is some wording on that in the code. Jessica, if you could find it and check it out, see what you can find out about that.
Yeah, I remember that. I think they still have that semi-permanent temporary fence around that pool. Yeah, my thought on that, Jessica, and the rest of the board is, I had to Google real fast, you know, temporary pools with more than 2 feet of water. Okay, now I know. It's not, you know, I have a good picture in my head. Some of those things can get 10 feet deep. So would it, in addition to or in place of, I don't know, the depth of the water, do you want to put depth of the pool? Like the sides?
Yeah, we could do that.
Or we just really want to focus on the water?
I mean, I'm not physically going to go out there and measure the water.
Goodbye.
So it probably is best to probably measure the side of it anyway, for some comparison. So if it's, you know, 2.5 feet, 3 feet, what have you, 1.5 feet. So
Do you know what other municipalities do for those? Do we have any?
this is a combination of what other municipalities do. Some of them don't regulate it at all. Other of them require it to be regulated as the same as a regular pool. So this statement is like a conglomeration of that, with the left out at 24 hours of a time, and the more than 2 feet. I think that's stuff that I have added in there, specifically because that's what I do. I research basically, well, what does like City of Kettering, what does Xenia, what does Fairborn, what does, you know, Oakwood, and what does all these other various jurisdictions and Sugar Creek Township and places say specifically about swimming pools or accessory structures, and I try to see what best fits our code and mix that in. So this is sort of like a mix of that.
Okay.
Personally, I think it's a good start. Knowing now that some of these bad boys can get 10 feet deep. Yeah, we probably have to have some sort of statement in there.
The only other thing I would say is hot tubs, I don't know if those need it as much, so long as they have, almost all of them have covers, and those covers like latch in. I mean, I don't know if you need a fence if you have a hot tub with a cover that latch, like that. To me, that's different because that creates like a complete seal on that hot tub. So I don't know if we need anything for those necessarily, or maybe just put a small line item that, so long as they, have one of the covers on it, like that's sufficient. I don't know, I guess, but I don't think those are the same as the pools.
I don't know. I don't know that we should hold them exempt. I don't know.
While you're working on this, Jessica, can you just research what other other places do with hot tubs?
Yeah, I don't even remember seeing anything specific to hot tubs, but I'll double check too.
Okay, thanks. Any other comments on 1805B? Any comments on 1805C?
This is something, again, I put together just to help make it clear, like what is attached versus detached, and again, to like clarify the breezeway thing, because we just had one little small reference to breezeway before, and it's just not sufficient.
I don't think a whole lot of houses nowadays have breezeways. Do they?
There are a
Back
couple.
here, I was gonna say, back where I am, there's a bunch of them, because everybody has built a detached garage, and they're big garages, and so they attached them with a breezeway to get away. A couple of them even have like finished lofts in them, and you wouldn't be able to have that extra half story if it wasn't attached to the house.
Oh, I see.
And there's a couple in the new development. I can't remember what it's called. Going up the hill.
Oh,
So looking at this, can we individually approve an 18.0 X or 05, pick a letter, or do you want to do A, B, and C all at the same time?
You can individually do that, but I think it would just be easier if we're tackling accessory structures, if we just, I know it's a word vomit, but if we just word vomit all of the accessory structures at once, rather than just piecemealing it like that. We're sort of doing that currently with like the code in general, like with accessory structures and RVs. But if you say you're fine with it, we're going to mark that you're fine with breezeways. You can approve that, I guess, now, and then we'll have that noted. I guess that's probably fine, isn't it, Pam? Yeah, so that's probably fine. Yeah.
Now,
Up to the
if you
board.
want to approve just a part of it now, then we can just knock that out, and then the other stuff will come back until you approve it.
So it's up to the board. Do we want to do this all in one piece, or is there a motion for certain sections?
I'd rather do it all in one fell swoop.
I agree with Denny.
I'd be worried that like we may need to reinterpret breezeways when we're talking about accessory structures and attachment and things like that. Like that would be my only fear. We'd approve it and then realize, oh no, we wanted actually to word it this way because of something that came up in one of the other sections.
Okay. So do we need a motion to table this? Come back to it?
I don't think so, do we?
No.
I don't think so.
Like
So
I
that's-
said, next
that's what we're
next
gonna
month
do.
it'll be old business.
All right, then. So moving on, then we are looking at any open discussion. So as you were fighting with getting YouTube connectivity, one of the questions I had was, can people actually chime in on YouTube and ask a question? like right now?
No, not on YouTube. And every place I put out the notices about meetings, I say that anyone who has a desire to speak can log in to the Zoom meeting, and I always include a link. So like with council meetings, we have had people who join that way, and they either end up deciding to speak or not speak, but they have to be in the Zoom. So
Okay, yeah, that's what I thought.
So
Any open discussion then?
Well, the only burning question I had already asked Jessica, she didn't know, and I don't know. So I'm going to ask Pam, does the city have to pay for Zoom?
yes, because we upgraded, there is a free version that probably you guys use.
No, that's what
But to have the webinar feature and some of the other features that we use that allow us to have other people in the meeting and not part of the board or something, to have those features we had to pay, but it's pretty minimal. Wasn't an issue. I don't remember how much it was, but it was not much.
Yeah, how many people log on to watch us on YouTube?
On YouTube, for your board,
Like
Three?
sometimes just 6.
yeah, sometimes it's just us. I guess if you were doing something, a little more,
Controversial?
yeah, that could draw more of a crowd, but so far, not so much.
I mean, if you look at the YouTube history it'll get maybe 10, 11 views on YouTube in addition to whoever watches it on or comes to the meeting through Zoom, I guess.
And 2 of those are me, because when I go through minutes,
Oh, I
Oh,
see. that.
yeah, 2 of those
Oh.
views are me.
8. It'll get 8 views.
So we wouldn't count, the board wouldn't count since we're not on YouTube.
Well, but if you had it on the side, so I don't know. I have it on the side while I'm doing this, so I make sure it's running.
Yeah, well, we don't, I'm sure.
You don't, yeah, but you could.
Good.
Oh, Tim's getting ready to fire it up right now. I can see him. I need to see what it looked like.
I do run 2 monitors on my computer, so.
All right, so I think we're done for the night. Need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Bennett made a motion to adjourn the February 25th meeting of the planning board. And was that Mr. Tuttle seconded? Yes, Mr. Tuttle seconded the motion. All in favor?
Bye.
Aye.
All right,
All right. Thank you all very much.
Thanks, guys.
see you next time.